Man, it's cold. I'm at the auction, so I cannot show you guys anything outside. If you remember, I had a couple of times I ran into some arguments because of this with the auction. So found the dozer, stopped the truck, put timbers under the axles that were up in the air on the trailer, drove the trailer on those timbers, dropped the suspension, unhooked the chains, opened the bags. There's a switch there that kills the bags, and then drove off the boards, reinflated suspension. All axles now are on the ground. And so I parked the trailer in the middle of the driveway, right, maybe, I don't know, 10-15 meters away from the dozer. And there's nobody like around the dozer. I asked him if the key is in the machine. She kind of looked at me funny, and I didn't realize at first why. And so when I got to the machine, so it's 1965 Caterpillar D8H. They took off the blade, they took off the side arms that, you know, were holding the blade. So it's really 10 feet wide, 11. I climb on the top, I check with my the dimensions with my tape, and so it's 10 feet wide, and there's something on the top of the roof, like, I don't know, ventilation, except it has no doors and no windows, so no ventilation is required. So it's 11.2 tall, and the guy showed up. I don't know, like, it's a bit confusing, like the buyer, he's not the buyer. I said, basically, who are you? And he says, oh, I work with the buyer. He says, I often I'm a trucker myself, I often move these. And he basically just helping because the buyer is not here, but this guy lives somewhere nearby, near Bolton, Ontario. And so he showed up in his fancy Mercedes, and because I asked him, I said, the machine has to be washed, right? And when I talked at the gate, I said, could you please check on your paperwork if the buyer made arrangements about the wash? And they said no, because you have to pay. And so they looked and they said no, he didn't pay. And so I said, okay, the buyer's kind of like assistant is coming and he's gonna make arrangements. And now he came over, he says, no, they cannot do it, they're too busy today. So he says, I'll try to find the mobile wash. So that's problem number one. So the machine is dirty, even though the ground is covered in snow, but it you know, they moved it a couple of times when they were taking off the blade 2 weeks ago. And so of course back then there was no snow, so now there's dirt inside the tracks, and you know the rules, right? So equipment that's crossing the border has to be clean, especially since it's going on a ship. Like, even if the border will agree to let it through, but the ship, the port authority might say, no, we're not loading, you know, this dirty machine, because you cannot have dirt on a ship there in the hold. All right, and so it has to be washed. That was problem number one, which we still haven't resolved, because I still have not been able to load the machine. So first it would not start, and that's why I realized the lady was a bit smiling, because, you know, these old dozers, there's no key. There's just one of those like a gray switch, kind of like what they use now for battery disconnect, you know, like a master switch, gray, you just turn. And I look at the batteries were right outside. It's runs on 24 volts, so 1965 D8. And right next to the batteries I saw the master switch, because at first, yeah, I turned the ignition, nothing happens. The needles don't move. And so I look at the battery compartment and I see the master switch right there to the left of the seat. And then it started clicking, but I see the amperes on the battery were like 0, right? And I tried a few more times, nothing. So I called the gatehouse. I said, please send the boost truck. I said, the lot number so and so. They know where I am, because these are what I'm picking up. It's like it's the last auction. It's only a few pieces remaining here. Maybe, I don't know, 20, 25 pieces of equipment are remaining. Like all around us, that's already the next auction. And that's what they told me. I said, where do I find it? She says, well, just look in the corner closer to the road. He says, that's where the previous auction stuff is. And so, yeah, I found it. And so they sent the boost truck. Tried with 2 connectors, would not start. They tried with 4 cables. You know, they were charging all the batteries. Would not start. And then they tried the ether. You know, one guy is starting, another guy is spraying ether in the air intake. And finally, after about an hour, and it's cold outside. It's like, it's not that bad. It's like -5 Celsius, but what is that? So 10 is 50. So it's like 22 F, I think. No, wait. So 32, 18 is 18. What am I doing? 0 and 10. So 10 is 18. So 5 degrees Celsius is 9 Fahrenheit. So 32 minus 9, 23 F. But it's chilly. You know, it's actually, it started snowing again. And I had to clean up the windshield of my truck. It was all covered in snow, and the wipers were frozen. And so I always started it, and the guy said, yeah, let it run. It started running, and we figured out nobody knew exactly. Like, there's a big hand throttle, like a lever. And I was asking, I said, okay, which way it has to go? Which way to start it? Nobody knows for sure, but now we know that when you pull it down, it increases the RPM. And that's kind of like your choke. And so it was running. No, wait. And yeah, so they couldn't start it. And then the guy opened, like, I look at the gauge that shows fuel level, it shows full. But then one smart guy, he says, let's check the fuel. And he opens and the tank is right behind the driver's seat. So he opens the cap and he shines his cell phone light in there, and he says, I can see the bottom. So it has very little fuel. And so they call the guy, there's a fuel tank here. Like, these guys have everything. You know, the auction, they have a mechanic on standby. That's the guy that we were just talking to. And so they got the fuel trucks. Of course, the buyer probably had to pay for it because it was very low on fuel. So we had it started. So that problem was solved. So basically, it was low charge on the battery and no fuel. You know, you combine those two with 23 F or -5 outside, and it's impossible to start this 1965 Dozer. So finally we started it, and that's where the progress with the loading stopped. Because no matter what we did, like the mechanic, and then I tried, you know, I said, okay, how are you doing this? Oh, so he explained to me how to put it in gear. Doesn't want to go into gear. You know, basically there's just a lever. There's just a lever, and here's the picture. So there's just a lever, kind of like you have to flip up the safety lever, because that blocks the gears to be engaged, right? So once you flip up it's kind of like what they have on the excavator, right? With where you turn on and off your hydraulics. So it has the same lever that sits like this, and then you have to pull it up like this, and then you can move the gear lever. And the gear lever, he says, no, you don't have to push any pedals. Basically, there's like 2 sides in that box. One says reverse, one says forward, and at the top here at the front it's N, neutral. And so, you know, you just take that lever and you move it into the desired position, 1, 2, or 3. And also I noticed that he was pushing the engine brake like that. I said, what the heck is the engine brake? What do you mean, like a brake like I have on my truck? They said, no, it just basically drops the RPM. And so I saw that he was doing that, like we increased the RPM maybe to, I don't know, 800 RPM, and then he would push that narrow pedal to the very right, which they call the engine brake. And what that does is just it drops the RPM down to pretty much like idle, you know. And he was doing that, so he would push that pedal, the RPM would go down to idle, then you try to put it in gear, and then you release it and it should engage. But no matter what we did, after 2 hours, nothing. The machine is dead in the water, the engine is running, no movement. But at least now I know how to move it, you know. The guy taught me how to move it, and he says he never had an issue, like the mechanic who was here. He said he never had an issue with this machine in the summer. He says, why didn't come to load it 2 months ago? And the guy in the Mercedes says, well, we didn't have this guy, me. He says, we didn't have a truck, so now we have a truck, and he was supposed to come today, so which I am today now, 29th of November. And the verdict from the mechanic is the transmission oil is frozen. And he says he doesn't have the torch. He calls it the Tiger torch. He says, you need a Tiger torch. I don't have it. And I said, what if we hook up a loader or a truck and just drive it around? I said, first off, if we hook it up and it's in neutral, will the tracks turn or they're gonna just be sliding? He says, no, the tracks will freewheel, as he called it. He says, the tracks, if you can get a big wrecker, he says, you can load this thing, because once they start pulling it, the tracks will start moving. And so if the wrecker goes on the, you know, behind my trailer, he can hook up his cable and just drag this thing on the trailer. And so hold on one second.
The Tiger torch, is this how it looks like?
I have no idea. But basically, yeah, it's something that looks like the one on the left, the Flame King.
Yeah, the flame thing.
Yeah, the Flame King, but
is it, or just?
I think it's like, I only saw that people use this with my truck. They just put it under the truck. It's like a special, yeah, heating up. It's not like a real welder, right? It doesn't want to. You don't want to cut the metal, so this just heats up.
It just heats up. Yeah, I can go get it. That's what I'm saying. I can buy one.
Okay. Can you maybe ask the mechanic? Just if you can call the gatehouse and tell them where can you find the mechanic, and then that tall guy, just show him this to make sure it's the proper one.
Okay. Okay.
And then I'll just wait here, because I think they close.
If it's not more than this, if it's not something more than $300, I better go get it and save time.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can get it in Home Depot. I can get it maybe.
Like
I don't know if you have it traction.
Like, yeah, traction, or maybe Prince's Auto.
Yeah, all of them are close by. So.
Yeah, but I would say I would talk to the mechanic, just ask him where the mechanic is,
okay,
and show him that picture.
Okay.
I'll be here.
Okay, all right. Thank you. God bless.
Man. So there was this guy who's helping the buyer. So I don't know if you heard, but he says if it's under $300, if it's not like, you know, $5,000, you can go get it. Because yeah, I said I have to be in New Jersey on the 1st or 2nd of December. I explained to him about my accordion situation, and he probably does not know what an accordion is, but I said, hey, a friend of mine is flying in from Russia. I have to pick it up. It's an expensive accordion. I've been waiting since June for it. I cannot just and I cannot drive in my car. Well, I could, but then, you know, then I'm not making any money. I'm just paying for gas, which becomes more and more expensive. So yeah, and I woke up at 6 o'clock today, so I drove to Starbucks and I created my bill of lading. You know, I don't have a automated software, but what I do is I just use Open Office, which is free version of Microsoft Office, because it has the same stuff. It has a word processor, spreadsheets, you know, database. And so I just opened the last bill of lading. I go into my books. I have a folder called books, and then I go inside books. It says bills of lading. I go in there, I click on the last one, and let's say this previous one was 1458, 1458. And so first thing I do, I change the number to the next one, like 1459 in this case, and I click save it as 1459. That's it. So now I have a new bill of lading. So I just changed the ship from, you know, field, ship from, ship to, and then I change third party freight charges bill to, and here I put the broker, the freight broker company name and load number, like what I see in my rake information. And then all I gotta change is like 4 lines here in the middle: the weight of the load, what is this, like the description of the load, like in this case it says 1965 Caterpillar D8H Dozer, and then the second line says, you know, 21 feet long, 10 feet wide, 10 tall, which is actually it's 11.2 dash 75,200 pounds. And the next line is the serial number. And then because it's an auction, I always, when I'm picking up at the auction, I always put a buyer number and lot number, because they need this. And then I do a note, like in this case the note says no blade, so that the consignee or whoever at the port, you know, don't start arguing with me like, hey, where's the blade, you know? And that's it. Then I sign, carrier signature, trailer loaded by, I change this one, yeah, sometimes trailer loaded, sometimes it's the shipper, sometimes it's the carrier, me. So this time I put by carrier. And when you come in, usually when you check in here at the main building, they want to see, they want to have a copy of the bill of lading. And the trick here is that they don't want to show the auction as the shipper. You know, they say, no, we're not the shipper. You know, once I did it, I put the name of the auction and then the address. I go in and the lady says, no, we're not the shipper. You have to put your customer name, like basically the buyer. So you have to put the buy. And so what I do now is on the first line where it says the shipper, ship from, I put the buyer name. And then second line I put C/O, name of the auction, care of the auction. And they're happy with this, you know, because they say, no, we're not the shipper. We're not going to be responsible, you know, if there's any issues. Don't call us the shipper, because the shipper is your customer, the buyer. So those are a few tricks I learned, you know, when dealing with the auction. And then I went in to check in, and actually the guy even didn't take a copy of my bill of lading. And he says, well, it's a dozer, so it doesn't have any title. He says, usually that's why people come in here in the main building, because let's say you're picking up like a truck or something, or a trailer, so then we'll have the title in here. But he says, something like this, dozer, you don't have to check in here, you just go through the gatehouse where the barrier is. And I said, okay. And so I go through the barrier, yeah, they give me like this green thing over here with my vehicle number, and they say put it on your dash. Must be visible on your dash, so they know that you're a legitimate visitor. And pretty much that's it. They told me where the machine is, right? And I drove in here, and then our problems started. So the guy went off looking for the, that's what the mechanic told us. You need a tiger torch. Tiger torch. He says, better yet, come back after 2 weeks. And we both like, no. We have to load it today. Well, either today or tomorrow. I ordered the permits, which is what? Which is New York, PA, New Jersey. But they might not be ready till tomorrow. By the way, let me email them. Okay, compose. What's the name of this girl? I forgot the name of my agent, and what's her name? She has a very unusual name. Permits. I'll just say applied for permits for NY, PA, and NJ. Is anybody working on this? Thanks. THX dash. And also time now is 2:05, so I've been here since 9:30. And you see, like, what do you do in a situation like this? If you're a drive-in guy, you'll try to charge him detention, but you know, heavy haul, they don't want to pay detention. That's why whenever I build a quote, I use 8 hours, because I go by the hours. I put in 8 hours, which covers loading, unloading, and border crossing. Because in my experience, yeah, loading can take a long time. Like I see, this is an example, especially when you're loading at the auction and it's an old machine and it's winter outside. And then border crossing, it takes 2 hours. You know, first of all, I have to prepare the border crossing, right? I have to go to my computer, you know, do some magic over there, and then sometimes you have issues with the broker, you know, with the customs broker, right? Some missing paperwork or something, or some wrong paperwork, or they messed up the serial. They messed up the serial number. Is that an answer from my? No. That's that dealer keeps sending me offers to move something, but that dealer I signed up before, but you have to wait anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 weeks to get paid, and I don't like that. And so I thought I would do something like short for them, but each time, you know, I cannot wait 2.5 months, you know. Like this dozer, as soon as I deliver, I'll get paid. If I deliver in the morning, I'll get paid around 2 o'clock. I'll see the money in my account. So there's something about the beauty of factoring. No chasing brokers, you know, no waiting. And so yeah, time now is 2 o'clock local time, so it's about 10 in Moscow, Russia. And I asked the dealer, because they were saying that today, the magic date of November 29th, the dealer drove to Tula, south of Russia, where the Tula factory of accordions is located. And he said guaranteed he was picking up my accordion today, and they agreed with my friend, the American Russian-American guy. They said we're gonna meet around 9 or 10 p.m. as he's coming back. And I said, please let me know when the transfer took place. But I still don't see anything. I hope they don't throw me under the bus, because my friend leaves Moscow. At first he said December 2nd, and then last time I talked to him he said December 1st, and December 1st is Wednesday. So today is Monday 29th, and then this month is only has 30 days. So tomorrow is November 30th, and then December 1st is Wednesday, and December 2nd, my mom's birthday, is Thursday. So I gotta call her and congratulate her on reaching the magic number of 85. All right, so for now I'm sitting. It's a good thing that I brought water with me, and I brought some smoked sausage, and I had some bread, because I'm trying to stay away from bread. But now we have some crazy very low carb bread, which is like, you know, a slice has 4 grams of carbs but about 15 grams of protein, and a small pack of that bread is $7 Canadian. It's kind of some kind of special high protein bread, but it has some seeds in it, you know, like sunflower seeds. It's pretty tasty. And so that's what I had. I had that special bread with some sausage. Oh, and I took a picture of the dozer. It looks pretty cool. But I'll show it to you. Well, I'll show you the dozer when I'm out of here. Because yeah, I don't want them to scream at me, you know, again. I'm just gonna email the picture of this dozer to myself. So I hope we can move it today. Like, I'm disconnected from the trailer. The ramps are down. I put those big blocks I have now in front of the ramps. We're all ready to load. And my chains are on the ground. So if this guy buys that heater, we can call the mechanic again and ask him to heat up the dozer. So otherwise, oh, and I asked him this question. I said, so if we drag it, let's say we hire a wrecker, or, you know, use one of your loaders or something, or an excavator, which of course they wouldn't approve, but like a loader, let's say they have pretty big loaders in here, like a wheel loader, and there's a hook in the front of this thing. What if we just hook it up and drag it? And the guy said the track should spin since the transmission is in neutral. I said, would that help to warm up the transmission? And he looked at me funny. He said, no. I said, like, why not? Because it's not in gear. That's why. Because it's not in gear, and so which means that the gears are disengaged, so the gears are not turning inside the differential. See, that's why. So he says the only way to warm it up is either use that Tiger torch, or put it somewhere in a warm warehouse or something, you know. Like, and they have a track wash in here. But it's a good thing that, you know, the tracks are freewheeling, so this free moving. So worst case scenario, the guy can just hire a wrecker, and so the wrecker will come from the back of my trailer and just hook up a chain or like a big cable. But imagine, I know we did this a couple of times with something, and you know, what if one of the tracks has some, you know, more friction over there, you know, like it's an old machine, so it'll start going like this, right? So it's very difficult to pull this with a chain straight, you know. So it would be really preferable if we can drive it. Oh, and the guy gave me a crash course. I said, okay, I know how to steer it. I said, you just use these levers here. You pull. That means that you're stopping the left track, or you're braking the left track. So basically it's like an old system, you know. There's like two levers like this with the handles. So you pull the left one, that means that the left track brakes and the machine starts going like this, right? So you pull this way to go left, you pull this way to go right, and the mechanic says, no, that's not enough, you have to push the pedals. I said, what pedals? He says, you see these two pedals? It says one is for each track, so you have to push he says, this is just the transmission, but you actually steer with the pedals. So basically I said, you have to do like this, you know, like you have to put your foot on the pedal, and then you have to do this to turn right. So basically you need like you need 4 arms and 3.5 legs to operate this thing. Well, that's what the dozer looks like. You see the arms for the blade are on the ground, and the blade it's over there to the left, but I'm still not loaded. You see, I'm sitting at a Walmart somewhere here. Just, you know, hidden conveniently behind, so as not to attract too much attention, because they're saying that private property, you know, no parking, stuff like that. But, you know, I don't want to sit at the auction. So, breaking news, I spent 6.5 hours at the auction. From 10 till 4:30, and they kicked me out at 4:40, 20 to 5, and the mechanic came at probably 4 o'clock. He was busy doing something else. He came back at 4 o'clock, and my buyer's agent, so to speak, found that Tiger torch, and he gave it to the mechanic, and the mechanic comes over in his truck, and he opens the floor next to the seat, you know, of the operator, and he looks down and he says, oh, there's a lot of oil in here, like a lot of, you know, probably some old oil leaks, and he says some of the hoses are made of rubber, not steel. So he says, I don't want to use the torch. And so he kept at it for about, you know, half an hour till I left. He was trying to add some fluid, I'm guessing hydraulic fluid, to this torque converter there on the side. The machine was starting, like by itself it would not start, but he came over, he hooked up the battery, you know, charger from his truck, like I'm guessing a transformer or something, a generator, and it started, you know, from like half a turn. But no matter what he did, he could not move the shifter into gear. Like as soon as you move it into like first or second or third, if you take your hand off, the shifter goes back to neutral. And so I was talking to another guy who emailed me with some dozer tips. But this gentleman is only familiar with John Deere machines, whereas this one is Caterpillar. But he says it may be just the hydraulics, you know, maybe there's hydraulics fluid that frozen, not the oil in the transmission, because these are, you know, hydraulics plays a big part in these dozers. And so tomorrow I'm guessing, because this mechanic was saying, no, it's the transmission oil got frozen, but then he was afraid to go in there with the torch, so he was playing with this torque converter. And so I told my customer, I said, okay, I'll give you 4 hours free. Because at first, you know, I told the broker, I told this Lawrence guy, I said, yeah, I'm not going to charge you, I just want to get loaded. But then I've been there 6.5 hours, you know, like there should be some lines, you know, in the sand, right? So yeah, I said I'm not going to charge you, but that did not mean that I have to sit here for 6.5 hours. I said, I'll give you, and this is more than fair, I said, I will give you 4 hours for free. Okay, 4 hours. So from 10 when I arrived at the auction till 2, no charge. Okay, I understand it's an old machine, but from 2 to 4:30 I said I want $120 US an hour, so that's $300. Okay, and I said tomorrow I'm gonna give you 3 hours for free, and after that it's gonna be 120 hours, $120 US an hour, because I already have my bond, I have the PA permit. And interesting story with the PA permit, and the good thing I checked, you know, always check your plate to make sure it's your actual permit, you know, your name there. And then I look at the route. I'm coming from Buffalo going towards Newark, New Jersey, right? The permit says, the last line says basically hook up with I-80 and keep going west till you reach the border with Ohio. I'm like, wait a second, I'm coming from Buffalo, going south on US 15 towards, you know, Duncannon over there, right? And then I jump on I-80. Why would I want to go west towards Ohio if I'm supposed to go east towards New Jersey? And so I sent them an email, I said, a wrong permit, all in caps, you know. Please void this permit, void the charge, and reissue the proper permit. And they reply, well, no need to shout, with all the caps, I made a mistake. And funny enough, they don't even say they're sorry. They just said, we made a mistake. Like, it's, you know, it's like neither here nor there, like mistakes happen. But that permit was $370 US. And I said, I'm not paying that, and don't charge me twice, because it's your fault. Well, I didn't put it like, you know, bluntly like that, but I said, please don't double charge me. I'm not gonna pay for the wrong permit. And so then they issued the proper one, and this one was like $270, you know, $100 cheaper, because there's much fewer miles going east towards New Jersey. And in other news, I got a response from the Russian consulate about my citizenship application, and it was exactly the same as what I received on September 22nd. Just pretty much like a word for word a copy of that message, saying that they received my paperwork, which was on June. Okay, I know you received it, so we're working on it, and at the current time we are waiting for the reply from the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Russia. So basically between September and now, nothing changed. They still don't have a confirmation of my Russian citizenship, which means that I cannot apply for the passport. Oh boy. And then today, 29th of November, is the big day in my second Accordion's history, because today is the birth date of my Accordion number 2. And around 9 o'clock local time in Russia, my dealer Pavel was supposed to meet with my friend Alex and give him my accordion, so that Alex will fly to New York City on Wednesday, and then I'm taking this load to Newark, and then we can hook up somewhere on the New Jersey side. That's what we agreed on. And so I look at my watch, you know, in Russia, of course, it's 8 hours forward. 9 o'clock Russian time rolls by, 10, 11, 12, Nothing, no messages. I asked him, I said, guys, could you please let me know when the transfer is done? When Alex, you have the accordion, when Pavel, the dealer, you gave my accordion to Alex. You know, it's a $3,000 accordion, you know, US. And so I text Alex because I don't know his email address. He's not responding because I know he has trouble sometimes getting text messages from Canada on his US phone. But the dealer, Pavel, responded, even though I look at the watch, over there it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And he just answered with one word, da, yes. Like I said, did you manage to transfer my accordion to Alex, my friend? And that's his answer, da, yes. Hooray! So hopefully the box is not too big and that Alex will not be too much, you know, pissed about this. And hopefully they're not gonna charge him too much money to put it in the baggage, to check it as baggage. So now all I need is, I need to make this stupid dozer work tomorrow so I can get loaded and get to Newark. And there's a bunch of loads after that. I'm getting, people keep asking me for quotes. There's a bunch of loads in January between inside Ontario, like heavy loads. There's a bunch of loads between Quebec and US. Some guy was asking me for a quote. So I think it's gonna be a very busy winter.